One of these men is the world's champion racing driver. What is your name, please?
My name is Phil Hill.
My name is Phil Hill.
My name is Phil Hill.
Only one of these men is the real Phil Hill. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Ralph Bellamy, Laraine Day, Johnny Carson, and Betty White on To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Salem Cigarettes. Laraine, may I take just a moment to welcome you to our show?
Well, thank you very much, Bud. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure and our privilege, believe me. Hope you have a good time.
I hope so, too.
Now, panel, will you open up your envelopes and take out your affidavit cards for the first time tonight? And follow along as I read. I, Phil Hill, am a professional race car driver. I drove my first race in 1948 in my own MG. For the past 3 years, I have been driving the Grand Prix circuit for the famous Italian Ferrari factory team. This year, in a series of 7 races, I became the world's champion race driver. I am the first American to ever hold the title. Signed, Phil Hill. All right, gentlemen, are you all set and comfortable? Very well. As you heard, as I did, panel, these 3 gentlemen are all claiming to be Phil Hill, world's champion race driver, and we begin this first round of questioning with Ralph Bellamy. Ralph?
Number 1, who did you win the title from?
There is no defender.
No defender. Well, who had it last year at Indianapolis?
Last year, Jack Brabham had it.
Number 2, what is the course? How far is the race? How long is the race?
Well, there are a series of 8 races, and they average between 400 to 500 kilometers.
Well, the last one, the last race at Indianapolis, the final, how long is it?
Well, the last one wasn't at Indianapolis.
Oh, all right. Number 3, what's the purse?
Well, the purse varies from race to race.
How much did you win?
I won $5,000.
Uh-huh. Number 1,
Laraine?
Number 1, what is Monza?
It's a place.
Number 2, what is Monza?
It's a place in Italy.
Number 3, what is Monza?
Monza is the place in Italy.
What do they do there, number 3?
Well, they have a racetrack there.
Number 1, how many are on your team? How many does it take to put your car on the speedway?
You mean the mechanics and the fact?
Yes.
About 30 or 40 people.
About 30?
Between 30, depending on the race.
Number 2, how many does it take you?
30 to 40 engineers.
30 to 40. Number 3, does it take you 30 to 40?
Generally, that's about what they're...
Johnny?
I thought Monza was a sandwich. Number 2, can you tell me the name of one driver who competes in Formula?
In which formula?
Formula cars. Who drives formulas?
Well, they're Formula 1 and Formula 2 and others.
All right, number 1, can you name me one driver who drives Formula 1?
Formula 1, Bugatti.
All right, number 3, how many liter displacement does a Porsche have? 1600 Porsche.
1.6 liters.
Number 2?
1.5.
Number 1?
1.6 liters.
All right.
Betty?
I don't want to ask them anything. I want to ask you a few things. Where did you learn all that? Number 2, how many races in this Grand Prix circuit?
Usually 7, perhaps 8 sometimes.
You mentioned 8 before, and I noticed on our affidavit here it says 7. How many of the 7 races, number 1, how many of the 7 races did you win to win the title?
I won 2 of them.
Number 3, how many of the 7 races did you win?
I won 2.
Number 2, where does the Grand Prix start and finish?
Start and finish?
The Grand Prix circuit.
It usually starts in Buenos Aires in January and finishes up in June.
Well, that's all the time we have. We'll have to grind over to the starting pitch there and get our engineers out and start marking our ballots, if you don't mind, panel. So kindly do that right now, without further questions and without any further consultation. Voting as you do so for number 1, number 2, or number 3? Our team of challengers will, as is our custom, receive $250 for every incorrect vote. Ralph, all set? For whom did you vote?
Number 1, and I have to say I touted myself on and off all 3 of them, but perhaps number 1 looks more like a race driver, or a race driver should look.
Laraine.
Well, I voted for number 2 because I don't think he looks like what a race driver should look like.
We're going the other way.
One
All
was simply right.
Johnny, which one did you select?
I voted for number 2. I should know, but I don't. I used to drive a little. I should know, but I think it's number 2.
Betty?
Well, I voted for number 1. I think all the answers, believe me, knowing as little as I do on this subject, they all confuse me completely. But number 1 looks so miserable. He looks like he'd much rather be driving than being here.
All right, we have Ralph and Betty then at number 1, and Johnny and Laraine number 2. No votes for number 3. Let's see how it comes out as we learn right now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real race car driver and a champion at that. So will the real Phil Hill please stand up? Mr. Hill, as the saying goes, you really skunked him that time. Incidentally, in addition to the many honors that Phil Hill has won this year, last Friday he was awarded the Martini and Rossi Trophy as Motor Sportsman of the Year for 1961. We're very proud to have him. Congratulations to you, sir. Let's find out about these other 2 intrepid drivers. Number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
Yes, my name is Hannon Wexler. I'm an account executive for public relations firm of Lobson Company.
And number 2, equally knowledgeable. What do you do and what is your real name?
My name is Jack Morris. I'm New York District Advertising Sales Manager for Purchasing Magazine.
Well, you really fooled the panel. That hasn't happened in a long time, believe me. And it's easy to count the wrong votes this time because there were exactly 4 at $250 each for a total of $1,000 from Salem Cigarettes. Not a bad night's pleasure, I think you'll admit. And a carton of Salem's for each of you. Thank you, gentlemen, very much, and many years of very safe and winning driving to you, sir. Good night and God bless. We'll have another team of challengers to fool our panel in just a moment. Now may I present our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Pat Scott.
My name is Pat Scott.
My name is Pat Scott.
All right, panel, you've had a look at the 3 involved. Let's look at the affidavit. Follow along with your copy, please. I, Pat Scott, am a syndicated newspaper columnist. I write a column for women on sewing. The column appears 3 times each week in some 80 papers throughout the country. In it, I answer questions from home sewers and give my readers hundreds of professional tips like how to make a gusset, how to stitch a dart, and how to sew in a zipper. I cover everything for the do-it-yourself girl, from the making of a fancy ball gown to the sewing of slipcovers. I call my column Seems to Me. Signed, Pat Scott. All right, well, we have 3 nice, attractive people here now, panel, each of whom claims to be Pat Scott, sewing columnist, and we'll start this cross-examination with our own hem stitcher, Betty White.
Thank you, Bud. Isn't that funny? When I read my affidavit, I read it, I answer questions from home sewers. That just shows what kind of reader I am. Number 1, what is the difference between picoing and hem stitching?
Hem stitching is just a regular sewing stitch, and picoing is a sort of a cross stitch on a hem.
Number 2, could you answer that question?
Well, a picot edge is sort of a little fancy edge that you put on things, and a hem stitch is a type of embroidery stitch, or it can be a different kind of stitch that's done on a hem.
And number 3, do you agree with that?
Picoing is usually put in, I believe, by a machine, and then cut. The selvage is cut.
The other is hand stitch.
I see. Number one, how many variations would you guess there are to the feather stitch?
There's only one variation.
Number two, do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
You don't?
Ralph.
I'm lost here. I don't know anything.
Just take the
Number
cue.
one.
Ralph, take the cue from Betty. Just think of sewers, and you're all right.
Number one, what syndicate are you with?
I'm with the Field Syndicate.
Field Syndicate. What paper in or near New York? What's the closest one to New York, if not New York?
The Chicago Times.
That's not very close to New York. Number two, what's a gusset? No, I'm going to ask number three. What's a gusset? I'd rather hear it from a man. I have no idea what a gusset is.
A gusset is a square piece of material that's usually superimposed over a seam in a sleeve, not in a raglan sleeve, not a set-in sleeve.
What's it for? Why should you sew that over?
It's to relieve tension on a seam.
Seams have tension too.
Never knew that, did we? Laraine, what about you?
Number two, what is rosebud?
I beg your pardon?
What is rosebud?
Rosebud?
Yes.
It's a type of lace.
Number one, what is rosebud?
It's a type of lace.
Number three, what is rosebud?
I believe it is a type of lace.
It's what you it's what you gather while you may.
Number one, what is the strangest question you have received from a do-it-yourself sewer?
Or how to enlarge in a pattern.
How to enlarge a what?
A pattern.
How do you enlarge a pattern?
Oh, you just
Enlarge it.
just enlarge. Instead of following the design on the paper, you go beyond that.
Figures.
Crazy eye.
All right, Johnny, do you care to pass through the eye of this particular needle?
I don't know where to start. Number three. When you have a zipper and it comes apart at the bottom and you're about halfway up, you know, how do you get it back to where you started? I mean, when it tears apart, usually you buy a new one. No, really. You know, if it comes loose at the bottom,
yes,
and you're halfway through.
He's talking about a lady's dress, you understand.
How? No, I've often wondered, how do you get it back? What is the best way? Should you pull it?
I don't think you do. I don't think you do, unless you're lucky.
Well, that's it.
I'm not going to walk around this way the rest of the week. That's why I asked.
Johnny, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave you with your zipper stuck right there, halfway. And mark our ballots, if you will, please. Do so now without further consultation or confusion. And vote for number one, number two, or number three. All ballots marked. Johnny, are you pondering or have you marked?
I've voted.
Okay, Ralph, for whom did you vote?
Number three. I thought number one kind of slipped up or had a little difficulty enlarging the pattern over there. And I like the answer about the gusset. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I was interested to learn that you got to do something with seams after they're seamed, and he seemed to answer.
Laraine.
Well, really, I wouldn't pick any of them. I sort of feel that anyone who's a columnist should have known that Rosebud is a sleigh, you know, for Hearst in that famous picture, Citizen Kane. And it seems that any newspaper man would have been interested in this picture. And it was such a big thing. But I will select number two because I think you put the two fellows on just to make us think it's a fellow because it should be a girl.
Pretty tricky reasoning. All right. Johnny.
Laraine took the words right out of my mouth. Just as well. I voted for number one.
Betty, which one is your choice?
Well, I don't mean to quarrel with Ralph. I voted for number 3, but he almost lost me on the gusset answer because to me a gusset is something altogether different, but I bought the Pico answer. So I think it's 2 and 3. I think they're both in the column business.
In cahoots. All right, we've sewn our way up to a very fine seam here, and as we learn the truth, we'll learn it right now, as we discover which one of these 3 persons is the real sewing columnist. So will the real Pat Scott please stand up? Thank you, Pat, very much. Well, Laraine, you're the first one tonight as our guest to guess right. You did real well on that one.
Well, I feel wonderful.
Let's find out about the other 2. Number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do?
My name is Otto Lohman. I'm from Union City, New Jersey, and I work for a charity fund organization by raising funds.
Thank you, sir. And number 3, you got the greatest number of darts. What is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Fred Dimmock. I'm the assistant manager at Abercrombie & Fitch.
Well, we check our score, and you did pretty well in fooling. Only 1 correct vote. That means 3 incorrect. And that means, of course, that $250 each, a total of $750 for your pre-Christmas shopping. And, of course, a carton of Salem cigarettes on your way out. Thank you so much for being with us, and many fine stitches. Keep on believing. Good night, and God bless you. Yes, Ralph.
It's too late. I was just going to ask, and I think in all fairness we should be told, what is a gusset?
Well, now, let's kind of hold on to that. Maybe I'll have the information before the show is over here. I'll find one and show it to you somewhere along the line. You know, the coldest, dreariest day in the winter doesn't seem quite so bad when you look at it this way. Now let's meet our 3rd team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is John Carruthers.
My name is John Carruthers.
My name is John Carruthers.
Again, panel, will you follow along with your copies of this affidavit? I, John Carruthers, am an expert on reindeer. Our family business is the importing, raising, and renting of these animals. This is our busiest season since we provide Christmas reindeer for Santa's villages, department stores, and civic organizations. Although we do breed reindeer in captivity, we also go into the Arctic to replenish our herd. We buy them from the Eskimos and return with a couple of dozen animals on each trip. Outside the Arctic, our reindeer herd is the largest in the world. Signed, John Carruthers. All right, panel. These 3 Donder, Prancers, and Blitzens all claim to be John Carruthers, reindeer experts. We'll start with Laraine Day. Laraine?
Number 1, what do you do with the reindeer off-season?
They're at the Santa's villages the year round. Their way they work the year round. They have no off-season, in other words.
Number 2, where is Santa's village?
Santa's village is we have several of them. We have one in Illinois, and we have one in Santa Cruz, California.
Santa Cruz, California?
Right.
Number 3, is there a Santa's village near Lake Arrowhead, California?
There is.
Number 1, do they have reindeer at Santa's village?
Yes,
at Lake
all
Arrowhead?
3 of them.
Are they your reindeer?
Yes.
Johnny?
Number 2, what's the difference between a reindeer and an elk?
A reindeer and elk, a reindeer is much smaller than an elk. A reindeer weighs around 300 pounds, and it probably stands no higher than 3.5, 4 feet. An elk is much larger.
Number 2, what do you charge to rent a reindeer? You know, in case it comes up. Number 3. Just one reindeer.
I thought you said 2. What do we charge?
Yes, for renting, say one reindeer.
Around $400, but that would include 4 reindeer and a Santa Claus to go with them.
Oh, the whole business.
That's right. That's.
Number 1, whereabouts in the Arctic do you get these reindeer?
On the coast of Alaska, near Nome.
Thank you.
Betty?
Thank you, Bud. Number 2, what is a caribou?
What is a caribou? It's in the deer family, and it's found mostly in up in Alaska and northern Canada.
Number 3, do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Number 1, what is the difference between a reindeer and a caribou?
A caribou is a wild animal, a game animal. A reindeer is a domestic animal.
Number 2, could you give me just a few uses that the Eskimos make of these animals?
Caribou or reindeer?
Reindeer.
Reindeer. Eskimos kill them off quite plentiful, but they also use them for work animals.
Not hat
Ralph.
John.
Number 1, I saw a wonderful picture a while ago called, I think, Valley of the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. The reindeer seem to be quite tame, and I just heard you say they're domestic animals. Is this true?
Yes, it is true. They are domestic animals. When we get them, they're wild because of the fact that they haven't been around people. But they do have the inherent intelligence to be trained and domesticated and made gentle, perfectly gentle.
Number 2, what do they eat when they're in their wild condition or before they're captured?
In the summer, they usually just eat...
let's say the wintertime.
In the wintertime, they eat mosses and greens off in trees.
I guess that's it. Once again, we've come down to the moment of finding out what's what and who's who and who's voting for which and why. So suppose you do so. Will you mark your ballots, please, panel, and do it now without further consultation. And vote as you do for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All right, everybody set and marked. Ralph, for whom did you vote this time?
Number 1, that was a pretty good answer he gave me, and I almost went for number 3, but number 1 looks as if he'd been outdoors a good deal, too. Number 1.
Laraine, what is your choice?
Well, I selected number 3. Well, I mean, do I give my reason now, or does the bell stop?
Sure. No.
Well, that's too bad, because I really don't have a very... No, I selected it because when he said his name up there on the stand, it didn't sound like it was very familiar to him.
Okay. Johnny.
I voted for number 3 because he's a pretty good salesman. I just wanted to rent 1 reindeer, and he tried to unload a Santa Claus and 3 more reindeer.
And Betty, which one is your choice?
Oh, I'm flying blind tonight. I voted for number 1. Johnny says because he has a red nose, and that's not true. I don't think if they're domestic animals, I don't think the Eskimo would kill off reindeer too much, and we didn't get a chance to ask number 3 enough questions, so I'm going to go with number 1.
You know, you're all pairing off interestingly. The second time tonight, you and Ralph, number 1, and Laraine and Johnny, and number 3 there.
We're all going out after the show.
Yeah, I guess you are. All right, let's see who's what and which is which now as we learn which one is. So, will the real reindeer expert, John Carruthers, please stand up? Thank you, sir, very much. Now let's find out about the others. Number 2, you didn't get any votes, I'm sorry to say. What do you really do, and what is your real name?
My name's Thurlow Cooper. I'm from Augusta, Maine. I play professional football in the New York Titans.
Hey. Good luck to you, sir. And number 3, your real name and what you really do.
Well, my real name is Johnny Marks. I am a songwriter. I never raised any reindeer. But among the songs I have written is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I think it's only fair to tell you that he hasn't gone out of the business either. One of the most recent ones he's written, I almost hesitate to say, is Rockin' Round the Christmas Tree. It's one of his newest ones.
It's a hit.
But I know, that's what I hear. And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I think you should know, has sold to date over 33 million copies. Fantastic. Well, a Merry Christmas to all. Except the score we find there were 2 right and 2 wrong, meaning, of course, in that case, that there were 2 at $250 for a total of $500, gentlemen, for your pre-Christmas shopping. And we hope you had fun visiting us. We enjoyed thoroughly having you here. Good night and good luck to you, and pick up a cotton Salem's on your way out. Now a word about Tristan decongestant tablets. That's all the time we have for tonight, except to remind all of you something I'm sure you know, that regular investment in savings bonds is a surefire way to establish something for that rainy day. So join the payroll savings plan where you work, or the bond-a-month plan at your bank. Laraine, it was certainly nice having you with us tonight.
Well, I've really enjoyed myself.
Come back again.
Thank
you. Johnny, a little bit of word for you. I found out finally and authoritatively that a gusset is the shortest distance between 2 zippers. Next Next week, we'll all be back with Gene and Merrill to round out our panel. And this is Bud Kelly saying good night, panel.
Good night, Bud.
And good night to all of you from Salem, and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Thompson production. Tell the Truth has been brought to you tonight by Salem, a cigarette that refreshes your taste. This is Johnny Olson saying good night for To Tell the Truth. This program was pre-recorded.